I gave up everything to win a family court battle, but the real victory wasn't what I expected. 7 years of silence, 1 envelope of receipts, and a cabin where the lake stopped long enough to hear myself think. Norah didn't say sorry, but she sent money, sent texts, sent something that looked like remorse. Hi, I'm Roger Cole. I'm 33, and I once believed sacrifice was my life's job title, until the day my sister sued me for an inheritance I paid for with 7 years of my life. Let's rewind. I'm the oldest. A fixer. A private investigator who's spent years tracing liars and cheaters and insurance fraudsters. But I didn't see the biggest betrayal of all coming from my own sister. Norah. The girl I raised through med school like she was my own damn kid. Tuition, rent, textbooks, exam fees, even those $200 shoes she needed for her first clinical rotation. I paid it all. Because I thought that's what family meant. You do what's needed. You carry what they can't. Until the day I handed a judge an envelope that changed everything. The day it all began looked like any other Thursday. I'd been up since 6 digging through a client's fraudulent disability case. Guy claimed he couldn't walk, then posted gym selfies with hashtags like #legday. I got the footage, filed the report, then got a text from Mom. Can you pick up groceries for dinner? Norah's stopping by. I stopped at the store. Rotisserie chicken, a bagged salad, the good iced tea she liked. I walked in with bags on each forearm, the door stuck a little like always, and there she was. Norah. White coat slung over her arm, hair perfectly done like she didn't sweat, didn't blink, didn't pause. She gave me a quick nod. Hey. Mom said you'd help me get to the ceremony tomorrow. Yeah, I said. Already cleared the afternoon. She didn't say thanks. Just started opening mail like I didn't exist. That was Norah in a nutshell. Mom poured wine, cheap stuff in a glass she called crystal, and said, Your sister is about to walk the stage, Roger. Big moment. I know, I said. I'm proud of her. That's when it happened. The moment everything shifted. Mom tilted her head, smiled at me with soft eyes and a hard voice, and said, Roger, your job is to sacrifice. That's your place in this family. Support. Not center stage. Norah didn't even look up. It's not that complicated. You're made for the background. She meant it. Both of them did. I didn't argue. I just wiped the counter clean, packed the leftovers I'd bought, and left with a smile that didn't touch anything under the skin. Because I knew something they didn't. I'd kept every receipt. Every transfer. Every bounce deposit I covered without complaint. And Grandpa Henry, rest his cranky, brilliant soul, had left a paper trail too. A will. A letter. A video. All of it neatly filed in a safe I hadn't touched since he died. But now I had a reason. Because just days after Norah graduated, she filed to contest the will. Sued me. Claimed undue influence. Financial manipulation. Said I'd tricked our dying grandfather into giving me the house, the investments, the lake cabin. The same assets I'd never once asked for. Her evidence? Screenshots of texts. Tuition checks. Me doing what I always did, cleaning up. Carrying the weight. And I remember thinking, if you want to fight, fine. But just know, I've got the receipts. And the last letter Grandpa ever wrote? It wasn't addressed to her. It was addressed to me. Sealed. Untouched. Until the day I walked into court and handed it to the judge. That's when everything turned. Court isn't like TV. There's no dramatic music. No slow zoom on the villain's smirk. It's just linoleum floors, bad coffee, and a judge who's heard every excuse on earth. But that morning, I walked in with a suit that still smelled like cedar chips from the garment bag and an envelope that felt like a bomb I didn't want to drop, but would if I had to. Norah sat at the other table in a designer blazer that screamed, First paycheck splurge, flanked by an attorney who looked like he billed in half-hour sneers. Mom was behind them, arms crossed. Dad wasn't even there. The first thing Norah's lawyer did was paint me like a predator. Mr. Cole controlled the deceased's access to transportation, finances, and communication in the final year. He wrote checks in the deceased's name. He made himself the primary contact on all accounts. My client alleges a campaign of subtle manipulation designed to position himself as sole beneficiary, Eva, my attorney and an old friend from a case involving a missing diamond ferret, don't ask, stood and said, Your Honor, we'll get to the real story soon enough. The judge raised a brow. Then let's. Norah testified. Calm, polished, confident. She said Grandpa had started forgetting things. That I stepped in, but didn't keep the family informed. That I asked for access to accounts, then kept them. That I conditioned support on his silence. She made it sound like I held our grandfather hostage with a debit card. Then it was my turn. Eva walked me through the basics. Did you pay your sister's tuition? Yes. For how long? 7 years. And why? Because she wanted to be a doctor. And because our parents couldn't. I saw Norah roll her eyes at that. Like paying for someone else's future was a character flaw. Then came the envelope. I slid it across to the clerk. Exhibit A. Every transfer. Every tuition check. Every rent payment, textbook, exam fee. All from my account. The judge skimmed the files. Nodded. Exhibit B. I said, holding up the second envelope. Smaller. Cream-colored. The letter. Your Honor, this was left in my grandfather's desk, addressed to Norah. I've never opened it. But I believe she should. Norah's face faltered. Just for a second. That tight, rehearsed mask slipped. She took the letter like it might be laced with explosives. Opened it. Read. Then her hands started to shake. Eva didn't waste a beat. Exhibit C, she said, sliding a printout across the bench. Screenshots of texts and emails sent by the plaintiff to her friends and our client's mother, describing plans to sue Mr. Cole regardless of the will's content. Including statements such as, I can guilt him into giving me the house, and he always caves. The courtroom went still. Norah's lawyer objected. The judge overruled. And then, in the driest tone possible, the judge asked, Miss Cole, would you like to summarize the contents of your grandfather's letter? She didn't look up. It's private. You filed the suit, the judge said. This is discovery. Please. Norah swallowed. It says Roger should get the house. That he never asked for anything. And I've already been given enough. And just like that, the air changed. The judge turned to me. Anything else, Mr. Cole? I pulled out my phone. A video. 30 seconds. Timestamped. Grandpa says, quote, when Norah becomes a doctor, she'll pay Roger back every dollar. The judge leaned back. Watched. Then, he laughed. Not mockingly. Just this dry, exhausted chuckle. The sound of someone watching a pyramid scheme collapse in real time. He turned to Norah. Miss Cole, your position is untenable. I suggest you talk to your counsel about voluntary dismissal. With prejudice. Her mouth opened. Closed. Mom said, This isn't what Grandpa meant. But it was. Because the letter said so. Because the video said so. Because the facts finally spoke louder than the family myth that my job was to suffer quietly. And for the first time, the truth had a microphone. The hallway outside the courtroom smelled like burnt coffee and old tension. Norah didn't speak. Her lawyer did, a lot of fast whispering and clipped sentences about options, exposure, fees. Eva drafted a settlement agreement on a bench using a manila folder as a desk while a bailiff ate a muffin 3 feet away. That's how serious this all still was. $100,000 in legal threats reduced to 1 page and a blueberry pastry. Norah withdrew everything. Every claim. Every accusation. Every lie she'd inflated into a legal weapon. She agreed not to contact my clients again. Yeah, she'd gone that far, emailing them under the guise of concern about my stability. In exchange, I agreed not to pursue sanctions. Mutually unsatisfying. Eva muttered, signing her name. That's how you know it's real. Mom tried to break the tension with a smile. This was just a misunderstanding. I looked at her calm. No, Mom. You told me my only job was to sacrifice. You said that out loud? She winced like I'd slapped her. I was upset. You were honest. Norah folded Grandpa's letter into a square so small it looked like a secret. You humiliated me, she said softly. I didn't raise my voice. You sued me. She blinked. I worked so hard. So did I. I just never sent anyone a bill for it. We stood there like two people waiting at a baggage claim for a relationship that never landed. Dad didn't say anything. Just rubbed his temples like he was trying to rewind the last 3 decades. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. But I also wanted the people who cut me to stop asking me to bleed for them again. So I left. I drove to the house. Not big. Slight sag in the porch. Light switch in the hallway that sparked a little when you hit it wrong. But it was mine. I sat on the living room floor with Grandpa's watch in my hand. I wound it once. Let it tick in the quiet. That sound was louder than Norah's lawsuit. Louder than Mom's guilt. Louder than 7 years of pretending that being useful was enough to count as love. That night, I did something reckless. I ordered a pizza. Extra everything. No coupon. I turned off my phone. And I exhaled for what felt like the first time in 7 years. The silence of the house was new, but not empty. More like unoccupied. Like it had been waiting for someone to claim it with both hands. I cleaned. Not because it needed it, but because I did. Something about scrubbing baseboards felt like exorcising ghosts. I found Grandpa's old screwdriver set in a drawer next to rubber bands and expired coupons. Fixed the sag in the front steps. Replaced the porch light with one of those cheesy motion sensor kinds, not for safety, just for the kind of comfort that lets you exhale when you walk in at night. Then I did something even more absurd. I opened a new savings account and labeled it Cabin Fund. Because Grandpa left the lake place to both me and Norah, and despite everything, I didn't want it to rot. I sent her a text. Let me know when you want your half of the cabin expenses. She responded with a single heart emoji. Nothing else. Fine. Then I called the loan servicer. With the inheritance portion I kept, I paid off the last of the student loans that had lived under my name like barnacles. Watching the balance hit zero felt like shaving off years I didn't know were weighing down my spine. Work shifted too. I stopped taking gigs that felt like poison, landlords looking to destroy tenants, couples who didn't want truth, just leverage. I leaned into custody cases, elder protection jobs. Turns out, I'm good at listening to people who've spent their lives being disbelieved. 2 weeks after the court hearing, Norah showed up. On my porch. Coffee in hand. No warning. She looked tired. Eyes ringed with stress, mouth set like she'd practiced being calm in the mirror. I'm here, she said, because I want to be the good sister again. I didn't open the door. I looked at her through the screen and said, I'm not doing amnesia. Her eyes narrowed. I paid you back. No, I said. You dropped your invoice. That's not the same. She left the coffee on the step. It went cold. I poured it out. Later, I found a transfer notification. $500. Then $300. Then $1,000 a few weeks later. No apology. Just lowercase memos. Sorry late, car broke down, we'll send more next week. It wasn't enough. But it was a start. Because the money meant she knew. My birthday came and went like it always did, quiet. Mom sent a group text with balloons. Dad followed with a forwarded meme that said, aging like fine wine, son. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to the cabin. Alone. The place was a little crooked, still smelled faintly of mildew and firewood, but it was ours. I took Grandpa's watch out of my pocket, wound it, and let it tick while I read the letter he left again. The same line still burned, even now. To the one who paid the bills he didn't owe. I whispered it out loud, like a reminder. Then said it again, louder. Like a spell. That night, I grilled a cheese sandwich with so much butter a cardiologist would have fainted. Sat on the porch with it in my lap while the motion light clicked on and off every time a moth did its thing. I watched the lake turn silver in the moonlight. And I thought, this is mine. This quiet. This clean air. This lack of expectation. A week later, Norah emailed. Residency is brutal. I'm on nights. Can we talk when it calms down? I typed back one word. No. Then I deleted it. Instead, I wrote, I'm not available to be your reset button. We can talk after you send me a repayment plan. The one you promised Grandpa. See attached. I included a spreadsheet, all amounts, interest rate 0%, because I needed sleep more than interest. She didn't reply. But 2 weeks later, another deposit hit. Then another. Slowly, like rain on a tin roof. Steady. No love notes. No heart emojis this time. Just acknowledgments, one line at a time. Grandpa was right. Got an extra shift. Paying what I can. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was truth. And sometimes truth is the best apology you'll ever get. 2 months passed. No drama. No sudden knock on the door. Just space, enough to finally breathe my own air. I started rebuilding my routines, one healthy decision at a time. I stopped answering every email at midnight. I said no to 2 cases that sounded lucrative but smelled like lawsuits waiting to happen. I put real food in my fridge, not just freezer meals and coffee creamer. I even started using the front room of the house. Used to be I just walked past it like a museum exhibit. Now, it had a rug, a lamp, a chair I actually liked. Then came the unexpected envelope. No return address. Inside, a cashier's check for $8,000 and a note in Norah's handwriting. For the spring. I'll keep going. No hearts. No. Love, your sister. Just that. And weirdly, that hit harder than any apology ever could. Not because it was money. Because it was proof. She knew. And she'd stopped pretending not to. I deposited the check into the cabin fund and made myself a celebratory grilled cheese that would make a dietitian weep. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I invited someone over. Not Norah. Not Mom. Just a friend from work. We sat on the porch, beers in hand, and listened to the wind in the trees like it was some kind of language. I told him the story. All of it. He listened without offering advice, just shook his head and said, "Man, that's biblical." We laughed. Later that week, I ran into one of Norah's old professors in line at the pharmacy. He recognized me from a hospital pickup. "She's brilliant," he said. "But she's never been told no in her life. That makes her dangerous in the wrong direction." That stuck with me. Not because I needed validation. But because sometimes you spend so long doubting your own perception, it helps to hear someone else say, "You're not crazy. That really was messed up." The same day, Mom sent a calendar invite for Easter. I declined. No explanation. Just a quiet, no, sent into the void. Dad called and left a voicemail. "We miss you. We miss Ava." I didn't return the call. But I listened to the message twice. Not because I wanted to reconnect. Because I wanted to be sure I wasn't being manipulated again. And then, slowly, the house started to feel like mine. I fixed the drafty window in the guest room. Painted the hallway a color called Stormbound Gray, which felt poetic. I finally got a proper safe installed in the hall closet and moved my old PI files out from under the bed. And I started sleeping better. No late-night texts. No guilt-fueled transfers. No waking up wondering if I was about to get ambushed at brunch by a family vote I didn't sign up for. Just sleep. Quiet. Steady. Earned. 3 months after the court hearing, I stood on the dock of the cabin with a thermos of bad coffee and Grandpa's watch ticking steady on my wrist. The lake was still, the kind of still that makes you feel like even your thoughts are too loud. I watched the morning mist burn off the water and thought, This right here is the reward. Not the house. Not the money. Not even the justice. The space. The breathing room I bought with 7 years of bone-deep self-denial and 1 envelope full of receipts. I thought about Norah. She hadn't called. But she kept sending money. Bit by bit. I kept logging it into the spreadsheet titled, "What was never owed, but paid anyway." She was making good, but never said sorry. Not directly. That wasn't her style. She just sent. And maybe that's all I needed. One Tuesday afternoon, I got a text from her. "Taking a rotation in oncology." Grandpa would have liked that. He never trusted surgeons. Said they were too eager to cut. I read it twice, then replied, "He trusted you. Even when you didn't." She hearted the message. That was it. But I felt the shift. Small. Honest. Like 2 tectonic plates finally admitting they needed some distance. That weekend, Mom sent a photo of her and Dad at the beach near the cabin. No captions. No explanations. Just the two of them in sun hats, holding hands like high schoolers. It was the first picture I'd seen of them in months where either looked like they were waiting for someone to ask for something. And maybe that's the miracle. Not forgiveness. Not reunion. Just freedom. The absence of demand. I mowed the lawn later that day. Fixed the gutter. Added a stupid garden gnome I found at a thrift store because it made me laugh. The house was quiet, but full. My life, mine. Then, on a random Thursday, Norah knocked. No coffee this time. Just her. In scrubs. Hair messy. Shoulders heavy. "I'm not here to stay," she said. "I just wanted to say one thing." I nodded. Waited. "You were right." I didn't answer. She looked around the porch, at the potted plants, at the porch light she used to say looked like it belonged in a hardware store ad. "You made a home," she said. "I did. I don't know if I can ever fix what I broke." "You don't have to fix it," I said. "You just have to stop trying to justify it." She nodded. "I'm working on it." And for the first time, I believed her. She left 5 minutes later. No hug. No tears. Just a quiet step down the porch and back into the world. I sat on the swing afterward. Let the moment settle. And that's where I'll end this. Not with a dramatic finale. Not with some fake bow. Just this. I am not a sacrifice. I am not the fine print in someone else's dreams. I am not a background character in my own life. I am Roger Cole. And for the first time, I get to choose where the story goes next.